I am Uncle Mark. Welcome to the channel. Let's get right to it. Going to be putting a wheel hub assembly. It's the bearing and everything on the back of the wife's Dodge Caravan. This probably does them all. This one's the 2010, but I think 2008 to 2020, probably pretty much the same. This has got the disc brakes in the back, if that makes any difference. I don't think it does on the hub itself. Just probably the way the, you won't have rotors, you'll have drums. Let's get right to it. I'm just using basic hand tools, nothing special other than the torque wrench, big hammer, couple jacks. Let's see if it's worth doing or not. You'll save yourself a few bucks. I did. I noticed this, I was going to do the brakes. You can hear it kind of sounds dry. So that's how I noticed that was an issue. Now, for the driver's side, if you ever want to get this caliper off, it's a big fight. Passenger side is a little different, but the driver's side, because we've got both cables for both sides on this side here, if you could move this by squeezing the opposite side, I'll show you right here. You squeeze these little tabs down, you could move it to the left far enough that if you can get this whole cable to move past that black boot to the right of the black boots and just the cable there, it'll fit in that bracket and it'll pop out. You can do your best to try and get that out. I've tried before. Every time I need this side off, it's a big fight. So I'll just show you quickly here, so then you get the thought behind it. And you can see how it moves. And if you can move to the right of the boot, you'll see if you move that boot a little bit, the cable will show, and it'll actually flip out through that bracket. But you could always put something on this adjuster here to make it move a little closer to. Probably the best idea would be to take the spring off on this side. Then you're not fighting that tension. This is for your emergency brake. I'll just show you how this comes off here. If you can grab it with something good. Easier said than done. I just use some vice grips. Grab on there and just pull it up carefully. That would work. And then you'd be able to move this a little more. But I've fought with this every time. And I've seen some guys online being able to do it easily. Me, not so much. So here's my suggestion. This is the whole problem. This mount here with this bolt is holding the cable, and the cable can't move without letting it loose a little bit. And once the cable can move left and right or front to back, then that caliper will move too. So you can take this nut off, but it's probably going to break, or bolt. I tried lubing it up a little bit, and tried gently whacking it. And I thought, oh, it's loosening, and maybe it did loosen a little bit, and then stopped. I'm not really sure. But if you do this, expect it's going to break. And I thought, oh, it's coming off, Well, maybe it was, or maybe it was just twisting. I thought maybe we should tighten it up a little bit again just to make sure. I'm sure nothing was moving. It's just a bolt that goes through a threaded piece that's part of, well, it's actually welded on this control arm. So anyway, tapped it here, and you're going to see the horrible thing that happens right there. Boom, broke. So just expect it's going to break if you want to take this off. So the best thing would be to just drill it. So instead of drilling out the old nut, I'm just going to drill a hole beside it, because those supports or whatever, they can move wherever. So I just figured this is a good enough spot. I actually drilled not too bad. I'm not using any, well, this is some kind of a metal bit, but I didn't spend lots of money on it. I thought what I'll do is I'll add a little bit of oil on it. This isn't 3-in-1 oil. This was actually, it's one of those containers, but I just threw some transmission fluid in it. Wish I would have had real cutting oil, but I figured as long as it cools it down a little bit, can't hurt. Probably help it a little bit. And I thought, I don't know if I can drill through this or not, but yeah, it drilled through okay. The bit's still good, and I thought this was going to be super hard to drill through, but nope. There's the hole there, beside the old hole. So what I did is just took my drill bit out of my drill, and I actually went to the hardware store and got a bolt the right size and a nut. Yeah. So since we're not going to go this route, or I'm not going this route, I better put this spring back on. Otherwise, next time if we use the parking brake, it's not going to want to release. So better to do it now than later. Done. Getting ahead of myself, but I should use this 18mm and loosen the caliper mounting bracket bolts. I notice there's no way to treat a ratchet. So instead of, I figured, stop being lazy, just go get the right size, which was 18mm. My wrench, and I can whack on that. Just loosen them up. Did that one, loosen the bottom one too. I'm going to take the caliper off first, so a couple more whacks to loosen it, make sure I'm doing it the right way. Now, there's the ABS wire here, and I don't want to break it, so I thought I should unhook it from its mounting points, just so it's a little longer in case I do accidentally stretch something. I won't break the wire. I got these little caliper holders. They're kind of neat. I'll try and put a link in the description. They weren't very expensive. I used to always use a bungee cord, but this is kind of nice. And take the pads out, brake pads. Then I can take this mounting bracket off, which we've already pre-loosened. Now, how do you get this rotor off? It's just sitting there, but of course it's dissimilar metals. It's kind of rusted on. I don't know if you should be hitting this with a hammer if you're going to reuse it or not. Oh, pretty tough. I've had it off before. You might have to really smack it. Turn it and smack it. Keep hitting it and keep turning it. Now, there is your speed sensor plugs into here. And it's actually a torque bit. And this shield's in the way a little bit too, backing plate. So I ended up trying to push it with my runner, bend it a little bit, hopefully it doesn't break. It's not super rusted yet. Still not enough room to get the socket or the bit in there, plus an extension. So I'm going to have to bend it a little more. I'm going to hit it with a hammer a couple times there. As long as I bend it back where it was. Almost enough. I might have to whack it a little harder here. Bend it a little more. I can bend it back with my hand after. Almost. Just about enough room. It comes off with the hub, so you can't take this backing plate off till the hub's off. I'm going to just grab a little extension. That'll give me enough clearance. These aren't really tight. At least mine wasn't. Just kind of holds it in there a little bit. It's kind of held in with, what is that? It's a T30. I'm going to pre-lube the backs of the bolts that are going and holding the hub on here. So there's 4 of them, of course. Not that it's going to help a whole lot, but I just figured, well, maybe if the threads have a little bit of lube on them, they'll back out a little easier. And then from the back here, I just use my socket. Got those out. I think those are 18s also. There's 4 of them. to remember to torque them back in later. So they all came out pretty easily. This is the easy part. Okay, let's jump ahead. This bolt up here, I don't know, you might break this off too, so maybe I would suggest not loosening it. I didn't break it off, but I can just see it being like the other one. There's just a bracket here that's in the way to our left. See the big hole there that I'm going to want to put my socket in. And anyway, this little bolt was 13 millimeter. It didn't break for me, but I didn't take it all the way out either. I just thought I'll just loosen it a little bit. But this bracket actually bends fairly easy. You'll have to see what you want to try. Just be forewarned, you might break it if you're doing what I'm doing. Like I say, I tried lubing the threads through that little hole there, that access hole. Anyway, now it moves. It still didn't move enough, so well, I'm going to grab it from this side and bend it up a little bit. And now it's flopping around enough. I've got some access there. And my ABS wire is still hanging on by too much. So I thought, well, I better just unhook it from all its little mounts or anchors. You'd have to see how they sit in there, but they're just a couple fingers. If you spread them apart a little bit, it should come out. It's a little bit of a fight, but it will come out. Just spread them apart far enough. There you go. There's that one. There's this one, and then there's another one, but you need a little pick or something to open it. Way down there. I'll show you a little close-up of it. It's got a little pointy pick. I just pop it open. Pull the wire out of there. Now it's long enough that I'm probably not going to break it. I see my hub did come with the new wiring harness, but I'm going to use the old one. Just because maybe one day it'll break and I'll have a new one sitting aside. Because there's no problem with this, so. Up to you though what you want to do. Still has to be taken out or cut or something because of the backing plate. It goes through the backing plate. A little bit of monkeying to take it out of here. I wasn't really sure if it was plastic or if it's a metal piece or what it is, so I was trying to be gentle. And it's just kind of sitting in there with it's got a rubber washer or grommet or whatever you want to call it, kind of holding it in. Eventually did come out. Of course, trying to get it around this corner is the next problem. Try not to get the end dirty, the sensor end. It's got some kind of grease or something on it. Don't want to disturb that either. Of course, if a person was using the new one, you wouldn't have to worry about this. So, there it is. It had a little bit of rusty junk on it, so I just wiped it off there. Probably a good idea to wrap it up with something if I'm going to reuse it. Which I did a little later on. I'm just going to spray those little bolts again. And then turn them from the back. And just have to do that with the 4 of them. And just want to take a look at the new one here and see how it sits in there. Because I thought, and then I noticed, oh yeah, it's got the harness. How the hub sits in there. So I'm wondering, is it going to fall out? Or am I usually you have to chisel these out, right? So I'm thinking, okay, it's a round piece that must slide in there. At least we know what the new one looks like. So the old one should look like that. So usually you would take a chisel and try and chisel them. So I've got some headphone, well, they're not headphones, but they're ear protection. Chiseled it a few times, and then I was thinking, I remember watching Eric O on South Main Auto on YouTube, good channel. Him doing a hub on, I don't know what it was. I think maybe it was an Explorer, and he showed a neat little trick that I remembered. I'm going to do his idea. I think he cut one of these off, but I'm just going to try and smack it out of there. I don't have all the fancy tools that he does. So with one of those out of there, if you had some bolts at home, actually I went and got one, a 1/2-inch bolt. I went to the hardware store. It's too bad the thread stops, because this was an issue. You put the bolt in there, and then you kind of use it like a press to press it out. I just have to find somewhere. It might wreck the backing plate a little bit. So anyway, here was the problem. Not enough thread on this bolt. So I had it as tight as it could go, and it wouldn't push against there. So I had to pull it out. Darn threads. Would it be nice if it was all threads all the way to the top. So I had a little piece of metal that I'm going to push against. Put the bolt back in, put the nut back on it, and then started turning away. This was Eric O's idea, and like the guy runs a shop. He's doing this all the time. So he says if he doesn't have extra hands, sometimes this works, and look at that, it's coming out. It was a little fiddly because the hub wanted to turn, or the bearing part of it. So did it on this side, did it on the other side. You don't have to take the bolt and nut out all completely, just loosen it a little bit so then you can spin it to the other side. And then I did this side. Again, maybe if I'd had an extra set of hands or something. But you can see it's coming out. Just have to make sure it's pushing against something on the other side of the backing plate. It was actually part of whatever the hub bolts to. And that nut was getting hot. So I put a little bit of lube on there again, tried this side a little more. And it's just about out. And this was nice and quiet on the ears. Be patient with me here. It's just going to come off here right away. And the problem is, as this side comes out, the other side wants to kind of go back in a little bit. So I was thinking, well, what am I going to stick a screwdriver in there and try it again? And I thought, I'm just going to pry. Look at that. Ta-da. Actually came out pretty easily. So what I'm actually doing in the top corner is I'm taking my rag and I'm covering that sensor that I'm reusing. I'll put some goggles on. And I got my drill out with a little wire brush, and I'm going to clean all this up. I'm going to put some goo on there. Some anti-seize, some nickel anti-seize I've got. And hopefully next time when I have to replace this, because we'll probably have the van for a long time. We don't do lots of miles. I don't need to have a new vehicle every couple of years. Actually, this is like, we bought it when it was 3 years old. It's a 2010. It's 2021 now, so that's nickels, what I'm using, nickel anti-seize. So I'm going to put it where the hub actually sits on there. Don't need it anywhere else. Put it on the inside because I think that's really where it sticks on there. And just got to figure out which way this is all going to go on. I'm going to take the ABS wiring harness off because I'm using the old one. So I'll save that. I don't know what this harness is worth. Even if it's $10, you can actually see the, I don't know if they're little magnets, whatever, wherever they trigger the sensor. Figured, well, while I'm at it, might as well put some on the back of this hub too. If it comes off easy next time, and I hear in these caravans you're going to go through a few of these hubs. Although this hub is original, or the one I took off, and it's got about 120,000 kilometers. So I guess it maybe did okay. And I don't know if the roads here are not too bad. Van gets a fair bit of highway driving too, so It's not like you're driving pounding a bunch of potholes all the time. This was a little fiddly to get this all back together. So finally figured out if I had the bolt peeking through a little bit, and I didn't tighten it all the way so that I could see the rest of them too, trying to line them up. Exactly however it's going to go in there. Line this bolt up. You can see from the back. Kind of hard to get your head in there. Maybe, well, I was trying to record too, so maybe I didn't have cables and everything else in the way. I could have just stuck my head back in there. Make sure you got jack stands on, of course, under all this stuff. And then they need a torque spec. I think it's 41 foot-pounds. I'll flash it up on the screen. Guess the guy could always make it just a little bit tighter. If you're doing it by hand, who knows how tight you'd make it. Could be like, I don't know. I guess 41's a spec. I might try to 50 just in case my torque wrench is out a little bit. Although I guess it could be out the other way too. Needed a big extension. I tried it a few different ways and the spring's in the way. Coil spring for your suspension. It's a good thing to have this nice long extension. Nice quiet. Hear the old one? I'm going to take that wire that was hidden, thread her back through here. We're getting close to being done. Well, I got to put the brakes back on and that, but you see the basic points to how this has to be done. I just kind of tried tapping it back in there gently. Once I was satisfied it was in far enough, got the little bolt that went in, a little torque, bolt, screw, whatever you want to call it. Bend that back a little bit. I'll know exactly where it has to sit once I have the disc back on, rotor. Bend this bracket back into place too. Although when you put the caliper mounting bracket on through there, it's going to bend that flush anyway. Then, so that I don't have the disc rust out on here later, I'm going to put a little bit of the anti-seize on here too. Although you saw this rotor's pretty rough. Yeah, I should have a video coming out very shortly where I'm going to do rotors and pads on the back of this thing. And like I say, the driver's side's the worst side. Passenger side, pretty easy to get everything apart. But the driver's side with your brake, parking brake cables and all that kind of stuff, I don't know if nightmare is the word, but it's tougher. Caliper mounting bracket, the 2 bolts go back on there. I'll try and put in the description below any tools that I've thought you might want to have to use that you don't have. Basically, I think the only real thing, well, good if you have a torque wrench. You might have to borrow one from a buddy or maybe some of those places. I don't know, is AutoZone? We don't have one close by, but would they lend you something like that? There might be some places, if you buy your parts there, they'll lend them to you or rent them to you. Put the pads back in. That's why I noticed the hub was bad anyway. I was looking, trying to figure out why this brake's been giving a little bit of trouble. And I think it's just, you know, old age. The rotors can't take the heat anymore. I'll put that in the description. Those little hangers are nice. I'm going to put the little bolts in for the caliper, for the sliding pins. Tighten them up. Not sure what the spec is for that. See if I can look it up. I just make them fairly tight. Get the ABS wires back on. They didn't want to snap in there very easily, so any kind of, I could have probably spit on them. That'd be gross, right? I sprayed them with a little bit of the WD-40 or something would work. They slipped in really nice with that stuff. Clip this back on, just clicks in. And I see that I put this on the wrong side. It actually was on the other side. I don't know if it's going to hurt anything, but it should have been on the inside. That slips in there too. And then this, just need a little bolt and nut, maybe some washers. This one's a little bit too long. Which size should you get? Guess I got suggestions. At least this, if ever need to take it off again, because it's not welded on there, if it breaks I can just put another one in. Bend this little piece back down that holds the parking brake, and we're done. And we'll just take a listen to the old hub. I don't know if you can hear this. I've heard noisier ones. So, I don't know if that was easy or not, but got it off. If you tried, hopefully you'll be able to remove it as easily. If you like the video, thumbs up. Down in the corner, you can subscribe if you like. Probably I would suggest if you have a friend with another vehicle in case you need to run and get either some extra tools or maybe a puller to get the hub out. You might be able to rent those at some auto parts stores. Can't do that where I live. Till next time, you and your friends take care. We'll put the playlist up here as to more Dodge Caravan stuff. Who knows what else is going to break on this van. Next thing that does break, I'll let you know. Bye-bye for now from Uncle Mark.
Remember to be safe. Your safety is your responsibility and should be priority number one. Also, give me the thumbs up if you like the video. Plus, please subscribe and you'll get all the notifications. It's easy. The little dog will show you how. Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Let's see. Okay. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Somebody needs to clean up in here. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.